Hey Internet, I'm Chris, and this is a place on the internet that I talk about comics, movies, games, TV, generally anything I'm passionate about. And today we're going to be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. I record this on vacation after a nap. The marketing push for Deadpool and Wolverine is in full swing, so much so, spoiler alert, I'll give you a second to kind of go away before you do this. They're spoiling cameos in trailers, with the latest one being Daphne King returning as X-23. They show a little clip from the scene, which for me was pretty frustrating because these days, even if you avoid the trailer, people are tweeting, posting the clip out of context and all that. Although the character had been rumored for a long time, shout out to Daphne Keene for pulling off an Andrew Garfield like lying tour while she was promoting The Acolyte and being able to tell everyone, hey, I'm not in it. I wish they called me. And her being in it. Which sucks. I think that would have been a really cool emotional moment. But based on some of the reactions from people seeing the first 35 to 45 minutes of the film, people are saying, hey, what you've seen in the trailers is nothing. That little thing of, Lady Deadpool and X-23 is just a taste. And that got me thinking sort of like where Marvel is, right? Marvel's in a place where the last saga, or this saga currently, the multiverse saga, has been a flop. Between Kang not being a really compelling villain, their first cinematic appearance was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and he was handily defeated by ants. So it's hard to really kind of be like, all right, this is the next big bad after Thanos. And then you couple that with the fact that they had to fire Jonathan Majors based on their sort of behavior and legal trouble. And sort of hearing there's rumors that they've already cast them. We're not just a couple days away from Deadpool and Wolverine. We're a couple days away from Marvel making their return to Hall H, and hopefully there'll be some announcements about who's replacing Kang, what the sort of rebrand will be for this new multiverse saga in the next Avengers movie that was called Kang Dynasty. It's rumored that the Russo brothers are coming back to direct the Avengers movies, which is great because I think they need Marvel and Marvel needs them. As much shit as they get sometimes for the films that they've been directing over the last few years, they are right at home, I believe. Winter Soldier is probably one of the best Marvel movies ever, and what they were able to accomplish with those Avengers movies and balance those storylines and bring everything together was really admirable. But again, sort of kind of coming back with this marketing blitz, Kevin Feige's been made available to a lot of journalists, and he's been doing interviews and talking about sort of where Marvel is. Way too long to make a Blade movie, and he's acknowledged that, which I think is great because we need Blade.
We are committed to the movie, and we're so committed to it that we're not going to make it until it's right, which has been frustrating for us and for some fans as it's taken a while.
But also, he's talked about how Deadpool and Wolverine is the first movie, or sort of the movie that is going to kick off this mutant saga, which is exciting, but also kind of like, hey, like, we're not done with the multiverse saga. But Kevin Feige is a great producer, so I'd imagine he knows in his heart of hearts this new sort of saga and has been a failure. And, you really have to drum up excitement to get people back into the theaters to see these Marvel movies, because what is really good about Marvel and what they cracked was they've made every movie essentially a sequel to the last one, even if it's not the mainline franchise. So I think something like Captain Marvel was really successful and hit $1 billion because essentially it was sort of the lead up to Endgame, which, became the biggest movie ever. And having that really sort of boosted it because people are like, hey, I need to see this character, and I need to see what their power set is going to be, how they fit into the new movie, what that next tease will be. And we've gotten to a place with Marvel movies and TV shows where most people are apathetic to what's going on. They're like, hey, like I don't care. I really don't need to do anything. And, some of these movies, even the bigger ones like Multiverse of Madness and stuff like that, you could have completely skipped. Everything would be the same. Outside of the Scarlet Witch going crazy, the universe stayed in the same spot. And the movies have become a lot like the comic books where a certain run ends and a new creative team comes on. But before the last run ends, the writer has to basically put everything back into the toy box so that the next person could sort of take on and sort of give a new jumping on point for people. And we have gotten to the point where, even though they'd been talking about it for years and it wasn't true, now we really are settled into superhero fatigue. And there's been some successes and exceptions to that, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and there have been some other projects, but, you know, there is much of like, hey, like this is all the same multiverse saga, like spot where like, wait, like this was supposed to be like this big introduction to something, and by the end of it, Kang is defeated, and Ant-Man is like, yeah, I don't have to tell anyone about this. Again, Feige's really smart in sort of getting people excited and drumming up excitement, like, hey, the X-Men is coming, they're coming, please watch these movies because, I promise will pay off. And at Hall H, there's a high probability that they're going to announce something related to the X-Men, and hopefully Deadpool and Wolverine delivers on the hype and it's able to change things in the Marvel universe on top of actually being good. That's the most important part, by the way, that this movie is actually good. Now, the sort of things in terms of the multiverse and obviously are really important because of the way they've hyped this up and the lack of sort of movement in the grander story and stuff. But in the end, this movie has to be good because the Marvel brand is definitely taking a hit with the last couple of movies and also TV shows where it used to be a brand, and this you've seen this with a lot of sort of brands that Disney has acquired, whether it be Pixar, Star Wars, and now Marvel, just because there's been such saturation with all these brands and IPs because of Disney Plus and all the other things that now people are kind of like tired of it. Most people sort of like the MCU's become a quick joke in less than 5 years. Well, actually 5 years since Endgame, which sucks because I think what they were able to accomplish with that is something to be admired. And I do think Feige does have the tools to be able to turn this around. But in the end, the product has to be good. And Deadpool and Wolverine has to be good. So hopefully it's able to deliver on that, change some things, introduce the mutants to the larger Marvel universe, and then eventually maybe, because it's hard to get much bigger than Secret Wars, we do get to the point where we maybe get Avengers versus X-Men. Hey, maybe that's the pivot from Kang. Maybe we get an Avengers versus X-Men that's like a Civil War type movie that opens up the universe and creates these battle worlds and all that. So there's a lot of possibilities, and that's a great way to pivot from something that's not working. Hopefully it gets to the point where Marvel is truly back and we could kind of get to a place where we're not just like joking about how the MCU has fallen off and, they'll never come back. Now, what do you think? I'm excited, but again, I've been let down by Marvel before in the last couple of years. Well, let me know what you think, and later.